This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
At one point in his life, was fasting during the week. The Talmidim of the Chofetz Chaim came to the Chofetz Chaim and said, Rebbe, why are you fasting? Unlike him, he was a tzaddik, as we all know, but he wasn't someone that fasted on a regular basis as far as we understand. And his Talmidim came and said, Rebbe, why are you fasting? Listen to the answer of the Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim answered and he said, I'll tell you why I'm fasting. I had a terrible dream. A terrible dream, a nightmare. A nightmare upon nightmare, said the Chofetz Chaim. And the Talmidim were wondering, Rebbe, what nightmare did you have that caused you to fast? What could it be? How bad could it possibly be? The Chofetz Chaim answered as follows, and he said, I had a dream that I became wealthy. I had a dream that I became very, very rich. Said the Chofetz Chaim, I fasted because that's a nightmare. And the Talmidim said, Rebbe, what's so bad? All of us would say, give us that dream and make it true. Like, what's so bad about becoming rich? The Chofetz Chaim answered, we don't understand the responsibility that goes along with it. We don't understand the achrayus, the responsibility of a person that has money at his disposal. A person that has funds, that has available cash. We don't understand what it means. The responsibility is so great, said the Chofetz Chaim, I don't want to have that. And therefore I fasted that the Rebbeinu Shalom should not make it come true. In fact, they say a Maisa over Rabbi Yisrael Salanta. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta once gathered some of the Talmidim of the Yeshiva, and he got a few of them together to make a Beis Din. And he told them to annul something that happened. And they said, Rebbe, what's going on? So Rabbi Yisrael Salanta said as follows. He said, listen here. My wife bought a lottery ticket. And I'm scared that she may win. I'm now relinquishing every penny that comes in from that lottery. I want to have nothing to do with it. I don't want to own a penny. And the Talmidim understood what does it mean of somebody that understands the responsibility that's so great of having money that it's not so simple. And we look at it and we all grew up with the type of idea, let's make money, let's become wealthy in millions, and how quick are we going to be a millionaire? And have, it's unbelievable. But if we understand what we're going to say tonight, and we come to the understanding and realization that money is a test, and although many people say, give me that test, I wouldn't mind, we'll see Be'ez Hashem tonight how serious that test actually is. The Chofetz Chaim brings a wonderful mashal, Rabbi Say. Listen to the mashal of the Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim says there was a farmer, an Amoritz. A farmer, a simple farmer. He knew nothing. He didn't know maths, he didn't know geography, history. The man was a complete and absolute ignoramus. He knew nothing. All he knew was how to produce certain types of foods, grains, whatever it was in his field. So, this farmer knows that he's got to go along and sell it. So he can't sell it in the place where the farm was, where the field was. He had to go to the town, to go to the local city. So all he knew was, puts everything into a big truck, a big type of wagon, takes the horse, and off he goes to the local city. And he has one of these merchants there that sells something on the market. And he says, you want to do business with me? And the guy says, no problem. So off he goes, wonderful situation. He's got all the grain in there, and the merchant is going to go and sell it in the shuk, in the marketplace. Wonderful deal. Now this guy, this simple farmer, what does he know about business? What does he know about how transactions work? So he says to the city guy, he says to the person who works in the market, he said, listen here, I don't know much about maths. I can't figure out all these, cheshbonis and calculations about all these, I don't know how to do it. I've got a very simple thing how to do it. He says, I'm going to bring in a bundle of stuff, yeah? Every bundle that I bring in, you, the city guy, right? The person that owns the store, you're going to put a coin on this plate. You put a coin on the plate, wonderful. And at the end of the day, or when I'm finished emptying my cart, we will add up how many coins are on the plate, and then we'll see how many bundles I brought in. And once I know how many bundles I brought in, I'll be able to charge you accordingly. Wonderful. And it was a great idea. And the farmer was bringing bundle after bundle, and he was bringing them in, and they were piling up and up and up. And the piles of coins on the plate were piling up and up from the person in the city who was putting them on the plate. And at one point the farmer looked, and he sees the farmer, and he sees the city person goes out every so often, and he looks at that plate and he says, there's a lot of money on that plate. And as the city guys, the person that owns the marketplace, goes out, so the farmer quickly, no one's looking, takes a whole bunch of them, he puts it in his pocket. Great idea. The guy goes out, it's another whole bunch put in his pocket is bulging there. Now the city person, right, the person that knows the market, he's not stupid. He realized what went on, and he said to the farmer, making a terrible mistake, "You don't realize what you're doing. What do you think? There's coins over there. Oh, wonderful, let's take it, it'll be great, right? Oh, what you don't realize is these coins are the coins that will give you the money to pay you for your produce. If you take them because you see the instant result of a coin now, so you're going to be losing later on what's rightfully yours." Said the Chofetz Chaim, Rabbi Isai, the Rebbe Shalom gives us money. The Rebbe Shalom gives us money in any form, size, whatever it may be, a lot, a little, each according to his situation. However much money that you have, if you look at it instantly like, oh, I've got money, it's mine, let me spend it, let me enjoy it. So you're missing something that could eventually gain what rightfully is yours. And the Chofetz Chaim is teaching us a big yesod in Hilchot Tzedaka. Tzedaka, as we'll see, Be'ez Hashem, is one of the most tremendous things that Chazal teach us. That if a person uses his money correctly, he can gain from it tremendously. There's a Ramban. The Ramban writes, Sefer HaMitzvahs, people often give tzedakah, and they think that they're losing something. You ask someone for tzedakah, I'm involved sometimes with different forms of fundraising, and you have people that really, it's difficult for them. It's difficult for everybody. But why is it difficult? Why does it become difficult? I'll tell you why it's difficult. And Rabbi, I'm giving you things here that you can use for the rest of your life. Be'ez Hashem, all of you will become, Mitzvah Hashem, successful human beings. Be'ez Hashem, Elech Yidin, a successful business that's conducted according to Torah, according to halacha Beis Hashem. But you have to know this halacha also. You have to know this inyan of tzedakah. The Ramban writes that a person should never give tzedakah and feel he's losing something. He's missing something. He's giving something of his away. As he says the Ramban. Listen to this ma'aseh, it's unbelievable. The sons of Rebekah was once sitting Leil HaSeder on the night of Seder, night of Pesach. The sons of Rebekah were sitting there, and he had all the Hasidim around him. You can imagine the sons of Rebekah at the head of the table, all the Hasidim surrounding him. And the sons of Rebekah got to the end of the Seder. It was time for benching. So what happens by benching? We say the following words: V'no tatzrichenu Hashem Elokeinu, lo lidei matnas bosa v'dom. I should never come to a handout from flesh and blood. And the sons of Rebbe, when he said it with such enthusiasm, with such a geschmack. He was so excited to say that I should never rely on human beings for handouts. And there was somebody there, a very, very wealthy chassid of the Rebbe, who heard that statement and understood the enthusiasm that the Rebbe was saying when he said that. And he made a comment. And the comment went as follows: "You'll look a lot better without my donations." In other words, what are you saying? You're not going to be dependent on bas of Adom, on handouts from human beings. I support you! Without me, where would you have food? Where would you have a place to sleep? How can you say that? Obviously he didn't say it in that way, respectfully, the Rebbe, but that's what he was getting to. And the Rebbe turned to him and said, this is what I said, it's amazing. The Rebbe turned to him and said as follows. He said, why does it say, Lo lidei matnas basa v'dom? What's basa v'dom? What does that mean, basa v'dom? Basa v'dom, it should have said, Lo lidei matnas odom. We should never come to the hand of a man. What's basa v'dom? Listen to the sons of Rebbe's explanation. It's beautiful. He says like this. He says, some people, when you ask them for a donation, so it's as if they're giving their flesh and blood. They're taking a piece of themselves and they're giving it to you. That's basa v'dom. Whereas other people, you give them, they're so excited. Sure, no problem, thank you for the schus. Says in benching, loyli day madnas basav adam. We should never come to a handle of somebody that feels as he's giving a limb of himself over to somebody else. And I have to tell you, Rabbi, I've lived through this. I've given, I've gone collecting for certain situations and different things. And some people, you really see that it's difficult for them to part with their money. Others, on the other hand, are excited and happy. Wow, what can I do? How can I make it easier for you? And it's amazing. And why? Why did it get to that level? So I'll tell you very simple. It got to that level because they realized that their money doesn't belong to them. Money is given to a person in order to help other people. Of course, a person needs money for himself. In Kemach in Torah, a person needs money to support himself. A person needs to live, he needs to eat, of course. But you have to realize that money doesn't belong to you. There's an unbelievable Beis Halevi. That's such a famous Beis Halevi, but how can we not mention this Beis Halevi? And it's the Yesod for life. Listen to this Yesod Rabbi say. Take this back with you to America, because this is something to remember. The Beis Halevi in Parshas Truma famously says, and he compares us living in this world to a fly. You have a fly that somehow got into a bottle, a big bottle, and at the bottom of this bottle is a sugar cube. And the fly is running around and it finds the sugar cube and it's so excited. Look at me! I have this sugar cube. It's great. There's nobody else here. It's just me. I'm enjoying the sugar cube. How wonderful it is. I've got the best life in the world. Little does the fly realize you ain't taking it with you. It's staying in there, and so are you. Says the Beis Halevi, you have to realize the money that we are given, you can't take it with you. You know how many people told me, I don't know, I've never seen it myself, but people told me that, what is the craziest tombstone that you've ever seen in your life? So somebody told me, I don't know, right? Somebody said to me, there's a certain cemetery where you have those craziest tombstones. One person has a bowling ball. Here lies George. Why? What did he do in his life? What did he accomplish? You know what he accomplished? He was the champion bowling player. He was the top of the line. Somebody else, this is unbelievable. Somebody told me this, they saw this with their own eyes. A model Rolls Royce on their tombstone. Rolls Royce! I mean, this is unbelievable, right? Because you're taking it with you. Rabbi said, these people think that this is it. That living on this world is, that's it, it's finished. We don't believe that way. We don't believe that what we do in this world is that's all we've got and it's all over. We believe that what we're doing is we're accumulating Torah and mitzvahs for the next world, which lasts for eternity. When a person realizes that, and he realizes that his money that he's given is something that's so temporary and what he can do with it is so great, and he has a whole different look of life. The Posek Shlomo HaMelech brings down is a wonderful thing, and he compares tzedaka to a heart. Why? So the Mefarshim explain as follows. They say a heart. Take a heart inside a body. A heart has blood coming in and then pumps it out. Blood coming in, pumps it out. The heart, not for one moment, thinks or believes that the blood it gets is its own. It realizes that the heart is pumping out blood to the rest of the body. It's given the blood, yes, but then it's given the blood to distribute amongst the rest of the body. When you go to a bank, just imagine you walk into a bank and you go to the person sitting on the other side of the desk, they're handing out all the cash, right? You know, my kids, still young, they think that, when I tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have any money, they're like, I understand, why don't you just go down to the chain shop and, just get some money from them? Like, what's the problem? They give out just free money. It's unbelievable, right? That's a child. The child doesn't realize. But if you go to a bank, right, and they give you money, yeah, you have an account, it gives you some money, wonderful. Does the person sitting behind that desk, for one moment during the day, think, oh, it's so difficult to give out that money? No. You know why? You know why it's not difficult for him? Because he realizes it's not his. He realizes this is not mine, it's a bank. I'm just working in the bank to give out the money to who it belongs to. If a person has that hashkafa, if a person puts and instills this into his brain, into his heart, then when someone comes over to you and he needs money, he's a needy person, and you have to dig down into your pocket and give him something, it's not going to be so difficult. It's going to be a lot easier. Because you realize that the money that you were given was to give out to other people and make other people happy. Just like the heart gives out blood to the rest of the body over there. There's a Gemara in Baba Basra, Daf Tesama Beis. The Gemara tells us, Omer Reb Chanina, Ochabeged idim kol tzidkei seinu. Our tzedakahs are like a beged. Our tzedakahs, our charity is like a garment. And the question the Mefarshim ask is, why are we comparing tzedakah, charity, to a garment? What's the comparison? So the answer is, the Maral says a beautiful thought. The Maral says as follows, Pshat in the Gemara is, that every mitzvah that we do is beautiful. You put on tefillin, it's wonderful. You put on tzitzis, it's wonderful. You do Netilas Yadayim, you make a bracha, it's all great. But these are mitzvahs. Tzedakah, charity, is compared to a garment. What's a garment? A garment is woven threads in and out, and it eventually forms a beautiful garment. When you give tzedakah, don't think for one moment that you're giving something once, and then tomorrow you're giving again, and the next day you're giving again. Oh no. Every act of charity that you do is another thread in the garment, which eventually is going to lead to a beautiful garment. And we have to realize as well that nowadays, in the generation that we're living, and this is really what got me to say this shir tonight, before you guys go back, the last couple of shiurim I have to chaparain, as they say. There's a moyedika Balatanya. Listen to this Balatanya. In Igeres HaKodesh Perek Tes, he says, now we're living what we call Ikdasa de Mashiach. We're living at the time where Mashiach is right here. We're at the doorstep. Mashiach is waiting to come and redeem us. We have to realize the most important part of Avodas Hashem, the most important and most choshev way to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is through tzedakah. So you're going to ask me, Slicha, Talmud Torah, Keneged Kulam? Learning Torah is the highest level. There can't be something more than learning Torah. Listen to the Balatanya. The Balatanya said that was in those days. In those days, you're right, when people were completely immersed in learning Torah day and night, they lived it. Unfortunately, we're not living on that level. We can't. We're not holding there. It's a different madrega, it's a different generation. Therefore, said the Balatanya, the most important and most powerful force that we have is tzedakah, and it's so important. A Yid came one time to the sons of Rebbe, and he said to the sons of Rebbe, I'm a tremendous chassid of your son, the Shin of Rov. So the sons of Rebbe, you're chassid of my son, the Shin of Rov? No, tell me why. What's so great? So he said, you should know the way he davens. Wow, you just watch him, you see the fire from Shomayim. The Rebbe's like, all right, next. Well, you should see the way he learns for hours and hours and hours without interruption. Sons of Rebbe said, next. And he went on to say all these things, and the Rebbe wasn't very impressed. Like, that's why you're chassid of my son. Until he said one ma'isa. And he said there was one time a poor fellow that was walking in the street with tattered shoes. He barely had a good, decent shoe in the winter. Snowing outside, raining, whatever it was wet, it was difficult. And I saw your son, the Shin of a Rebbe, take off his own shoes and gave it to that poor man. And when I saw that, I said, that's amazing. And the Rebbe said, aha! That's the reason why he's a good Rebbe. Not all your Torah, not all the mitzvahs and all the tefillahs. Of course that's choshev, that's wonderful. But tzedakah. Tzedakah shows that you realize that you're living on this world not as an end. You're living on this world to help other people. You're giving your money to help other people, and it's so important. Listen to what the Rambam says in Hilchos Tzedakah Perek Yud. Says the Rambam, such a frightening statement. Says the Rambam, we are chayiv to be careful with the mitzvah of tzedakah more than any other mitzvah saseh. In fact, the Gemara tells us in Baba Basra Daf Tesam Beis, Gedolet tzedakah yoiseh mikol hakarbonos. Giving tzedakah is bigger than all the karbonos. V'zoiche labonim talmidei chachamim. You will be zoicha to children that are talmidei chachamim, bali oishe v'kavoid. Says the Gemara, when a person gives charity, when a person does acts of kindness, you don't understand the reward that you can have for such a thing. And in fact, there's a tremendous medrash that I have to tell you as well. Rav Sheinberg Zatzal used to say over this medrash, from a Furush medrash. Listen to the medrash. The medrash says that if a person gives tzedakah, so it prevents and it stops him from using it for other things. The medrash tells us as follows. Says the medrash, Rabbi said, listen to this is scary lines. Says the medrash that a door that doesn't open up for the poor people opens up for the doctors. Say Chazal that if a person is not careful in tzedakah, if a person doesn't give charity the way he should, Rachmana litzlan, you can open up doors to the doctors and illnesses and everything else that comes along with that. And therefore it means to tell us that if a person gives tzedakah, that if a person gives his money out to other people, let other people benefit in a beautiful, kind, happy way. So you're immediately closing the door to the doctors, and Be'ez Hashem, you're saving yourself. Like the Gemara tells us, if you have rachmanis on other people, mida keneged mida, the Rebbeinu Shalom also will have rachmanis on you. And it's a tremendous, tremendous thing. I'd like to finish off with a couple of things, couple of nekudas, and then one last gavaldige maisa. The Rambam tells us there's a chiyuv, there's a mitzvah to support the aniyim, to give them tzedakah. It's interesting, we have Kamar Mekaymis in the Torah that the Torah tells us to support the aniyim, to support poor people. The question is, why don't we make a bracha? It's such a beautiful mitzvah. Why don't we make a bracha on this? You're giving tzedakah, you should say, hold on a minute, Baruch Atah. Where's the bracha? What's going on here? So there's many, many reasons. The Rambam, for example, brings down that every mitzvah say that's been odum lechaveiroi, we don't make a bracha before. Right? Says the Kesef Mishnah, every ben odum lechaveiroi make a bracha, and ben odum lemokim you make a bracha, ben odum lechaveiroi you don't make a bracha. That's reason number one. Reason number two is because it's totally in somebody else, which means that he may say no. Maybe he'll also say no, he won't refuse to take it, and therefore you can't make a bracha on something that is not 100% going to go into somebody else's hands. Another reason as well, what is tzedakah? Tzedakah is actually admitting that somebody else needs something, and that's not nice. To make a bracha in someone's misfortune, you have to be careful. Rabbi say you have to read something else well over here. When somebody asks you for money, it's not so simple just to turn around and say, no. There's an issur in the Torah for a person to say no. If you got no money, you got no money, right? With Moshe, they used to say they never left the house. He had a jar by his front door, and he would take a whole bunch of coins and put it into his pocket, so that if somebody came over to him, he'd have the money. People, I remember a fellow came up to me after I gave a whole bunch of shiurim and tzedaka. So a fellow came up to me and said, I've got a great idea. Now, what do I have to be worried about? Someone's going to come up to me, and I don't have the money, I don't want to give him. I'm over in this issa. Just don't carry money on you. I said, I don't understand. If you're a smoker, would you not carry cigarettes? You would. Who doesn't carry their phone when they leaves the house? You imagine a person leaves the yeshiva, right? You forgot your phone, you're by the bus stop. You're going to come back? Oh yeah, you're going to come back. No one's going to say, leave it there. Not one person here. Not one person. Why? I'm going to have my phone with me. Here you have an opportunity to carry a few coins with you. Someone I asked Rabbi Zil Orbach, America Kashrus. Listen to this. Hagoyin HaGodel Rabbi Zil Orbach Shlita. Hagoyin HaGodel Rabbi Zil Rabbi Sai. So I sat with Hagoyin Rabbi Zil Orbach Shlita and I asked him the following shayla. I said, Rebbe, I have a 200 shekel bill. I have a $100 bill. A 50-pound note. Someone comes up to me, he wants 50p. He wants a shekel. He wants $50. I have to give him. I'm going to carry change like this afterwards, right? He's going to start counting out every single, penny, and I'm going to come around with a whole pocket full of change. He said, but of course you have to give him. He said, but remember one thing. You're left with 199 shekel. He's only going to get one. You're going to get £49, he's going to get one. You're going to get $99, he's going to get one. That's what he told me. You have to realize a little bit of sensitivity to somebody else. Do you know how difficult it is? I remember in yeshiva, they made us go door to door collecting for the yeshiva. They called it Tat. And I remember we started in Sorotskin where the yeshiva was, and we still go around to Sorotskin, and we went to different places and whatever it was. And I remember distinctively, it was difficult, it was tiring, it was hard, knocking from door to door getting money, right? But at the end of it, I said, you know what? It gives me the sensitivity that when someone knocks on my door, I'll feel, you know what? I give the person a smile. I try to give them a minute or two if I have the time. Whatever it is. But to realize what someone else is going through when someone comes up to you asking you for money. You think it's pleasant? You think he enjoys it? No. Make it as pleasant as he possibly can. Give him a smile. Don't make him feel that, alright, let's say that. I'll go in my pocket and give you something. You know what I mean? You've got to make it feel good. And you should know the Gemara tells us you get more brachas when you give the person money with a smile, with a nice expression, than if you don't give him money at all, or you give him money without such a nice expression. Rabbi, I want to end with one last gavaldige maisa. The sons of Rebekah came to the Kashrus of Rebekah. The Kashrus of Rebekah, as we know, survived the war with his entire family. Not everybody was so lucky. He was lucky, but not everybody was lucky. And the sons of Rebekah came to the Kashrus of Rebekah and he said, Rebekah, tell us, what was your secret? What was it that you did? What schus, what mitzvah did you perform that allowed you to come out from the war with the entire family all intact? So the Rebbe said as follows. At first he didn't want to answer, didn't want to say anything. The sons of the Rebbe pushed him, please tell us, we can learn something from you. He said, okay, I'll tell you. He said one night, somebody came over, a very, very wealthy chassid of mine with a tremendous amount of money. He said, Rebbe, I'm giving you this money. This is enough money for you to go and get yourself out of the place. You'll survive the war. You'll be able to be taken and someone will smuggle you through the border. Whatever it is, there's enough money to last you. Tremendous amount of money. And the Rebbe took it and he thanked him a lot. But the only thing is, the Rebbe didn't have all the papers and everything wasn't organized and his family wasn't ready for whatever reason it was. Now the Rebbe had a custom which many tzaddikim have, and that is not to go to sleep at night with any money in the house. The tzaddikim used to go to sleep knowing there's not a penny in my house. Why? Because they have a moon in the Rebbeinu Shalom. If you go to sleep with money, it means I'm dependent on me. And therefore, if you get rid of the money, you're showing I'm dependent on the Rebbeinu Shalom. Therefore, his minhag his custom was always to get rid of every penny before he went to sleep. Now, he has a major problem, right? He's got a fortune of money here, which is to save him and his entire family from the war. You can imagine, pekuach nefesh. But on the other hand, he's got his minhag. He's got his custom of not keeping money in the house overnight. What did he do? And he was thinking about it backwards and forwards. And then he said, your minhag is a minhag, a custom is a custom. Emunah in the Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm going to trust in Hashem. And he gave his money to his chassid, said, give it to that person over there, let him smuggle out and let him save himself from the war. And the chassid, the Gabba, couldn't understand, how could you do this? But the Rebbe said it, and he did it. And eventually, a couple of weeks later, when the Rebbe obtained all the papers that he needed, and his family were ready, so the chassidim were around him about to say goodbye. They said, Rebbe, do you have the money to pay for this? He's like, absolutely, I have nothing. So there was a woman there, standing there for one of the wives of one of the rich chassidim there. She took off her necklace that was worth an absolute fortune, and she gave it to the Rebbe and said, here. The Rebbe said after the war, and he said this Maisa over to the sons of Rebbe, this is what saved him. Chazal tell us, Gemara in Shabbos, by the daughter of Rabbi Kiva, by the Chasana, Tzedaka tatzil mimoves. And it means that way. We don't realize it, the opportunity to give a shekel, to give a $50, to give 50p, whatever it is. To give that money is such a small thing for us, and it means so much for somebody else. Rabbi Sai, let us take this lesson with us. When we go back to America, we go back to England, wherever we're going. Let us take this lesson and realize our money is given to us to pump into Klal Yisrael, to pump into other people, to give it to them with a smile, and to realize that it's not ours to keep. We're just holding on to it until somebody needs it. And if you have the hashkafa, Be'ez Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom will give us siyata d'shmaya, and we'll take a feel that way, and then Be'ez Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom will give us all the correct panosa that we need. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.